right, so in the Johnson & Johnson article, I found it very interesting for numerous reasons. I appreciated how it kind of goes through the theoretical model of the characteristics of how imbalancing of power emerges in language policy processes. Also the understanding of what arbiters meant. I was like trying to figure that out. And kind of the argument of the article for the Johnson & Johnson is basically that arbiters, or those who are determined to give absolute power in policy, have a disproportionate amount of power relative to other individuals at particular levels or layers. Yet those people are forced to adhere to the policies that the arbiters kind of put in place. So one quote from page 222 by Johnson & Johnson said that not all individuals exhibit the same amount of power. I appreciated also how it included Washington State as the study. Washington does not have an English-only policy, and it kind of used Washington as an exemplar for how they are operating and kind of what they're seeing in their bilingual programs. So 40% of the students in Washington currently speak a different language other than English at home. And that average mirrors the national average. However, the way that they implement their policies is quite contrary to how the rest of the U.S. is implementing their English-only policies. So ultimately, the school districts implement the policies by their unique interpretation and appropriation by educators at a local level. I'm from Washington State, so I have personal experience of this. I lived there for almost 20 years and just moved to Arizona 4 years ago. So it is very interesting, and that's actually what my main paper's on, is the policy comparative between Washington and Arizona. And then also just another thing that the article shared is just some policies, they're very like explicit and covert, but it's really like what is practiced between actual schools and districts. Even though the U.S. also doesn't have an official U.S. or English language as their official language, it's the most dominant language and spoken, therefore. And according to Johnson & Johnson on page 225, the dominant group language ideologies act as a template where policymakers justify and restrict educational access and privilege to certain ethno-linguistic groups. This puts our ELs at a disadvantage, for example, with benchmark testing, with standard-based grading. That's something that we've implemented in Arizona, which I have found just pretty heinous all around. Also, the AZELA testing, which really forces our kids who, even if they have native speaking parents of a different language and the kids are, their L1 is English, they are still forced to take the AZELA, which I find just totally kind of bonkers. From the Heineke article, I chose the Heineke article 2018 on Arizona, which talked about how Arizona is the most restrictive monolingual language policy. We have a prescriptive approach to teaching EL population. It shared that there were 26 people engaged in this policy work at state and local levels, and it really focused on the wearing down, the attrition of teachers, which is the teachers are locally recognized but neglected at a federal and state level. I mean, I can preach that all day. The lack of teacher certification, preparedness, proper compensation for teacher recruitment all coincide with that 48% of teachers lacking full credentials in the state of Arizona. Currently, there are 31% teacher vacancies across the state. I am the only returning sixth grade teacher in my school. There's 4 of us. We had a substitute, learning facilitator, and 10 subs filling the 4th position. It was a crazy year. The overall theme is that the AZ education system is profoundly lacking. Okay.